has finally landed their first official star. Yes, this is not their first signing, but this is the first signing with real star power. You had Nneka Ogwumike. You had Alyssa Thomas. You had Jonquel Jones. You had Jewel Lloyd, Camila Cardoso, Janelle Saloon, Kelsey Mitchell, Lee Mang, and now you have Sophie the Trophy Cunningham.
Well, the WNBA offseason just went from interesting to absolutely explosive. Sophie Cunningham just dropped a bombshell announcement that has sent shockwaves through the entire basketball world, and you can bet everyone is talking about it. She has officially confirmed she is joining Project B, the brand new league that's throwing around contracts worth over $2 million a year. But let's be real, this isn't just about the money, though that is a massive part of it. This is a story about respect, about players making calculated power moves, and let's be honest, it's about watching certain players who spent an entire season throwing shade suddenly go dead silent, realizing they might have just backed the wrong horse. The league that so many critics and haters said would never get off the ground is now stacking its roster with names that genuinely move the needle. And you can bet that some folks are looking around right now feeling pretty nervous.
And I think the next team I play for, I want a bigger contract, so then I can buy a house and be homey and cozy.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. That could be the Liberty. It could be New York City. It could also be the Lynx, and it could be Minneapolis. Like, you just don't.
So let's break down what just happened. Sophie Cunningham just executed the single biggest power move of the offseason. And I mean, you can practically hear the sound of jaws collectively hitting the floor all across social media. The former Phoenix Mercury guard, who blossomed into an undeniable superstar with the Indiana Fever, announced she's taking her talents to Project B. And honestly, you couldn't have scripted the timing any better. Think about it. While some players were spending their energy this season building their brand on petty drama and manufactured beef, Sophie was out there on the court, quietly building her actual tangible value. And now she's cashing in on that value in a huge way. And the absolute silence coming from certain corners of the basketball universe is nothing short of deafening.
Guys, I'm so excited to announce that I'm actually joining Project B's athlete roster. I'm so thrilled for it. It is giving women's basketball a platform that is much deserving, not only here in the United States, but across the world. So come on this journey with us.
Now let's really dig into what Project B is. Because you need to understand, this is not some small-time fly-by-night operation. This is a legitimate 5-on-5 professional basketball league, set to launch in the fall of 2026, featuring 6 teams with 11 players each. Here's the number that changes everything. The minimum salary is $2 million. Let me repeat that so it sinks in. The minimum salary is more than 6 times what the WNBA Supermax contract was just last year. This league has some serious heavy hitters behind it. We're talking about NFL legend Steve Young and international tennis icon Novak Djokovic. This is not a joke. This is what happens when serious money meets serious basketball talent. Sophie dropped her announcement video looking genuinely thrilled, talking about how Project B is finally giving women's basketball the global platform it has always deserved. Not just in the United States but all around the world. And you know what? She's 100% right. While the WNBA has been seemingly dragging its feet for years on the issue of fair compensation, these outside investors are stepping up and putting their money where their mouth is. They're making a clear statement. These women are worth millions. And they're backing it up with actual legally binding contracts. But here's where the plot thickens. Sophie's signing makes her the second Indiana Fever player to jump to Project B. Her teammate Kelsey Mitchell announced just one day earlier that she was also joining the league. That's right, 2 of the most popular and skilled players from one of the most watched teams in the WNBA are taking their talents to a league that is willing to pay them what they're actually worth. That single fact should tell you everything you need to know about the current state of professional women's basketball. The haters spent the entire season trying to diminish what the Fever were building. They tried to paint the team's incredible success as a fluke. They desperately tried to pretend that players like Sophie weren't absolutely crucial to the phenomenal season Indiana had. They wanted to push a narrative that only one player on that team mattered, and that everyone else was just lucky to be along for the ride. Well, Project B just proved them catastrophically wrong in the most expensive and public way imaginable. You simply don't offer an athlete a $2 million minimum contract if they aren't incredibly valuable. You don't build a brand new league around players who can't move the needle.
As we know, Project B, their season runs with unrivaled. The same time of year, Project B starts earlier, finishes a little later. Unrivaled runs in the middle of that. If you are in Project B, there is no way, shape.
And if you need more proof, let's look at the hard data. Sophie Cunningham is the third most searched WNBA player, according to Google Analytics. Just let that fact sink in for a moment. The third most searched, that's not an opinion. That's a metric that proves fans actively want to watch her play. It means she has undeniable drawing power. It means she is incredibly marketable, and yet all season long, you had a vocal minority of people online trying to act like she was completely irrelevant. Like she didn't deserve any of the attention she was getting. That she was somehow just riding on someone else's coattails. I bet those people are feeling pretty foolish today, because their opinions just got invalidated by a multi-million-dollar contract. The true beauty of this entire situation is watching the narrative shift in real time. For the whole season, certain players and their fan bases acted with this incredible arrogance, as if they were the only ones who mattered in the sport. They treated popularity like it was some kind of zero-sum game, where only one person could be in the spotlight. They spent far more energy trying to tear other players down than building themselves up. Now those very same people are forced to watch players they dismissed sign life-changing contracts worth millions, all while they sit around waiting to see what happens next. It's also critical to understand that Project B is fundamentally different from Unrivaled, and that difference is huge. Unrivaled is a 3-on-3 league played during the off-season, which is cool, but it's just not the same game. 3-on-3 requires a different skill set, a different strategy. It's a completely different product. Project B is offering traditional 5-on-5 basketball, the game these women have mastered their entire lives, and the game that the vast majority of fans actually want to watch. That gives them a massive advantage. Players don't have to adjust their game or learn new strategies. They just get to play pure basketball and get paid what they are truly worth. And the league's scheduling is just brilliant business. It takes place during the WNBA offseason, so it's not in direct competition. This means players can, if they choose, do both. They can collect their WNBA salary, and then head over to Project B for another payday that is unbelievably much larger than their main job. Just think about how wild that is. The side gig, the off-season league, pays significantly better than the league these women have dedicated their entire careers to building. And let's not forget the other names already committed to Project B. We're talking Jewel Lloyd, one of the most elite guards in the world, Juju Watkins, the undisputed future of women's basketball, Camila Cardoso, a dominant force in the paint. These are not role players. These are certified stars, legitimate difference makers who could play anywhere they want. The fact that they chose Project B should tell you everything you need to know about this league's trajectory. What's truly laughable is watching people twist themselves into pretzels, trying to spin this as a negative for women's basketball. They'll cry that it's splitting the player pool, or confusing for the fans, or whatever other flimsy excuse they can invent. But the reality is incredibly simple. More opportunities for women to make life-changing money playing the sport they love is an undeniable good. More leagues means more leverage for players in contract negotiations. More options means the players finally have real power. The only people who lose in this scenario are the executives and institutions who have been systematically underpaying these incredible athletes for years. And speaking of negotiations, the WNBA is in the middle of some very contentious labor talks right now, and they still haven't managed to offer a max contract that breaks $1 million. Meanwhile, Project B is walking in and offering minimums of $2 million. How do you think those WNBA negotiations are going to go now, when the Players Association can point directly to another league that's willing to pay double what the WNBA considers a maximum salary? The entire power dynamic of the sport just shifted, and it shifted. Sophie's move also ignites speculation about what other Fever players might follow her. Project B is strategically following several players on social media, which seems to be their subtle way of hinting at future signings. Lexi Hull's name keeps popping up, and why wouldn't it? A $2 million minimum to play basketball in the off-season. That's a no-brainer for any player with options. The salt flowing in the comments under Sophie's announcement is a sight to behold. You can immediately tell who is genuinely happy for her success, and who is just bitter that their favorite player isn't getting the same level of attention or money. You've got people in the replies trying to downplay this, acting like this isn't a big deal, that Sophie isn't important enough to matter. Those are the same people who will be tuning into every single Project B game trying to see how the league does. They'll hate watch if they have to, but they will absolutely watch. Here's the fundamental truth the haters just don't get. Women's basketball is bigger than any single player. The sport is exploding in popularity precisely because there are multiple talented, marketable stars who all bring something different to the table. Sophie Cunningham brings a huge personality, elite shooting ability, and a passionate fan base that genuinely loves to watch her play. That is valuable. That is worth investing in, and that is worth a $2 million minimum salary. The funding structure of Project B is also interesting. While they have a deal with a Saudi events company, they are paying that company for their services, not the other way around. That distinction matters to a lot of people who have valid concerns about the source of money in sports. It appears the league is trying to build something legitimate with investors who actually care about the growth of women's basketball, not just people looking for good PR or a tax write-off. Having Steve Young involved adds instant credibility. He's not some random billionaire. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback who understands the business of professional sports, what it takes to build a successful league, and the importance of player value. Novak Djokovic's involvement adds that crucial international appeal. These are serious people making serious investments because they truly believe in the product. The big question now is how the WNBA will respond long-term. Will they finally step up and pay their players what they're worth? Or will they continue to make excuses about revenue? While outside investors are actively proving that women's basketball can easily support million-dollar salaries, they can't ignore Project B. They can't pretend it's not happening. They must respond, and that response had better involve opening up the checkbook. The timing of these announcements is pure genius. Right in the middle of off-season speculation, when fans are desperate for basketball news, and right when the conversation about player compensation is at an all-time high. Sophie and Kelsey making their moves now puts immense pressure on other players to make decisions and puts even more pressure on the WNBA to get its act together. This changes the entire landscape. Of course, some people will complain that this creates too much drama or uncertainty. Those people are completely missing the point. This is exactly what a healthy, competitive professional sports market looks like. Players have options. Teams have to compete for talent. Leagues have to prove they are the best place to play. That competition is good for everyone. Except, of course, the people who have been profiting from underpaying female athletes for decades. And yes, the elephant in the room is whether Caitlin Clark will join Project B. She's the name everyone is waiting for. If she signs, the league instantly becomes must-see television. If she doesn't, the league is still absolutely stacked with talent, but might miss some of that crossover mainstream appeal. Aja Wilson and Angel Reese are the other huge names still on the board. Neither is playing an unrivaled, and both would make Project B even more legitimate if they joined. But here's the key thing to remember: even without those three huge names, Project B already has Sophie Cunningham, Kelsey Mitchell, Jewel Lloyd, Juju Watkins, and Camila Cardoso. That is a legitimate, high-powered roster of stars. That is more than enough talent to put on incredibly competitive and entertaining basketball. Everything else is just icing on the cake. The most satisfying part of this whole saga is watching the people who spent the entire season being relentlessly negative suddenly have to confront the reality that their opinions don't matter nearly as much as they thought they did. They spent months trying to tear down players like Sophie, to diminish their accomplishments, to act like they weren't important. Now those very players are signing million-dollar contracts, while the haters are stuck rage posting on social media for free. From a pure business standpoint, you have to respect Sophie's decision. She is betting on herself and on a new league that sees and appreciates her true value. That takes incredible confidence. That takes guts. She could have played it safe, stuck with just the WNBA, and avoided any controversy. Instead, she is taking a calculated risk on something new, something that could fundamentally change women's basketball forever. That's the kind of move that separates the stars from the superstars. The infrastructure Project B is building is also promising. 6 teams is a manageable number to start with. 11 players per team allows for real rotations and chemistry. Playing in the off-season means players aren't overextending themselves. Everything about the setup seems designed for long-term success, not just a quick splat. What happens next is anyone's guess, but more big announcements are definitely on the way. But in this moment, Sophie Cunningham just made a powerful statement. She said she's worth millions. She said she deserves a platform that respects her value. She said she's ready to be part of something bigger than the status quo. And Project B looked at her and said, "Yes, we agree. Here's your contract." The haters can keep on hating. They can keep trying to pretend this doesn't matter. But the market has spoken. Investors are putting real money behind players like Sophie. Fans are excited to watch. The future of women's basketball is happening right now, and the people who spent all season being negative are being left behind in the dust. That's not just satisfying. That's poetic justice. Sophie Cunningham joining Project B is bigger than just one contract. It's about the future of women's basketball and who gets to control it. The old guard tried to keep these women underpaid. Now the players are taking their power back. If you want to see where this sport is headed, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because you are not going to want to miss what happens next.